Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to start talking about coping with feelings. And for those of you who are regular watchers, I'm going to do whatever I can to complete this broadcast. Just as you know, I've been having internet problems, and the strangest thing is that even as I speak, I have the internet provider guy actually working here trying to fix my internet. And as you know, I'm presently piggybacking on my neighbor's one, so hopefully that will not affect us. Anyway, so here we are. I'm hoping it will all work, and if it doesn't, at least we try. That's what I was saying today. And for those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin, and I was saying that to her. I said, at least what we're doing is we're doing our best. We're going to try and get this to work. So for those of you who don't know who we are, Dear Mama Sal is a group of people. It's not just me. And we get together 3 times a week to talk about Friday lunchtimes, we talk about coping with our feelings. Friday evening, we talk about coping with life. And then on Sunday evenings, we talk about coping with stress, because we all have it. And today, our quotes will be around making do with what we have. The subject I want to talk about as we move on is about the supply chain problem that is coming and already here, and how we may need to survive a little bit with the things that we have, or to do some very clever shopping between now and the next couple of months. So that's under my be prepared, not scared type thing. Remember to follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you get a chance. The reason for that is that if I need to add or stop a program, you know, that's where I will put a note up about it. So I just want to make sure that you know that that's where we put up we use it like a notice board, really. And remember that if you have a topic about which you'd like me to speak, or you've got a particular problem going on that you would like me to maybe do a broadcast around, without mentioning your name, I don't have to mention your name, let me know at dearmamasal@gmail.com. For those of you who don't know, any information that you will hear from me is not because I am some sort of a doctor or therapist or whatever. I'm a human being with white hair. Which means that I've lived a while, and that's where I get my information, if you like, and that and quite a bit of research. For those of you who know that I don't do winter well, I just want to tell you that we're expecting 4 inches of rain today. That's quite a bit, right? And the temperature is now down to 10 degrees Celsius, which for those of you who are in the States, that's down to about 50. Ugh. And I'm sitting here right now. I'm learning the art of doing what I call zonal heating. I've got the whole of the house at one temperature, but I notice that, it still feels really cold at my feet at certain places. So now what I've got is I've got little space heaters. If I go into the bathroom, I can just turn on my little ceramic heater and bring the temperature up while I'm in there, and then turn it off as I leave. And then here where I'm sitting, I've got an oil heater, a heater that contains oil. Is that what do they call that, Jody, in the States? Do they just an oil heater? It's, in other words, the oil is encased, but it is the most effective heater. And what I've got is it actually under my desk, because the only area where I need it warm is in that little alcove, where you put your feet, right? And I've got it down fairly low because I just need it to take the chill off that. I don't need the whole house to be different. I seem to be okay. And then I have another space heater if I need it in the... No, it's not a kerosene heater. Hang on a second. Can I do this? Hold on a second. Hang on. Why talk about it when I can show you? Maybe. One of these. Does that make sense? So it is like a radiator, but it contains oil, and it's the oil that heats up. Or not. I don't know. Anyway, it's a very effective heating system, I found. Just if you want to, and it's on a thermostat, so it'll just keep getting up um, to the temperature, and then it turns itself off. So that is what I call effective heating. It's not on all the time. All right, so that's why I thought I'd mention that. I don't know, what's the temperature like where you guys are? How's it doing? And of course, for those of you south of the equator, I envy you. I've already noticed that the days are getting dramatically shorter. And it's like, I really don't do this well. I feel very weird. I miss Africa at this time of the year, but I can do this because I have a way, right? I wanted to let you know that this is going to be a really funny week for me. I will be doing more entertaining in 1 week this week than I have done in 2 years. Can you believe it? First of all, I went over to my neighbor Betty Ann and Brian, and we went over there for we being myself and my other neighbor on the other side. We went over there for what do we call it? Canadian Thanksgiving, which we've just had. We had it on the 11th, and it was a wonderful meal, and her family came over, and it's so nice to be able to have a group of people again. I don't know about the rest of you, but it's really nice. And then tomorrow, for those of you who know Yvonne, Yvonne and her significant other Wade is coming for dinner. And I want to tell you, if you could sit in my house right now, you would, you'd either love the smell in the house or not, depends on whether you like lamb or not. But Yvonne's significant other, I have not seen for nearly 2 years. And well, since I moved here. And so, but I know he loves lamb and Yvonne doesn't. So tomorrow I will be serving 2 different sorts of meat. I'm doing roast lamb for him, which is just smells wonderful. And then tomorrow I will do roast beef for Yvonne, because she loves roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. So, and you're wondering, why would I do that? Why not? Right? The next thing is I've got Doug and Jess coming on Monday. So they're going to get what's left of that. And if there's anything left at the end of that, it'll be packaged up and frozen for the rest of the month. So I don't feel it's a waste of food at all. It's just like I'm cooking it all at once rather than during the month. So I'm looking forward to that. But the smell in this house, if you like the smell of lamb, which I do. And I was saying it's really funny because those of us who grew up either in the Southern Hemisphere or in Europe, we eat, grew up eating lamb. And yet in North America, very few people seem to eat lamb. There's people who are natural when I say natural to North America, but you didn't start off your life in Europe or south of the equator. And so it's for me so to find somebody else that likes lamb, because I love it, with mint sauce. I'm I'm going to have some tonight. All right. So before we get on to the main thing, thoughts and prayers. Still got thoughts and prayers going out there for Erin, for Jody, and Lionel. Lionel put his back out this week. And for Kimmy, I know she's had a tough time. And who else? Anybody else that you can think of, Jody, that we know needs some thoughts and prayers? Hi, Jeannie. How are you doing? Birthday-wise, I know that it's Zephyr's birthday on the 24th, and Jamie's as well. And Kerry's on Halloween. And Nada, we know, is sometime in October, but she's never given us the actual date for reasons I cannot understand. But we know that she's got a birthday somewhere in October. So, in October, I just keep mentioning it, and so she'll know that we didn't forget her. So if there are any other birthdays that I have forgotten, it's because they're not on my list. And so please let me know at DearMamaSal@gmail.com, and we'll make sure. Oh, that's good. Jeannie's saying that for those of you who don't know, Jeannie just got back into her house. How long have you been back in now, Jeannie? She and I both had fires in our homes, and I got back about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 7 months ago. Wow. Um, can you believe that? 7 months? I came in April, May, June, July, August, September. We're now in October. It's 7 months ago. Wow. Doesn't it feel like yesterday? Anyway, and Jeannie's been back not as long, and she's getting curtains in now. That's awesome. She's been back almost 2 months. Well, I want to tell you something, Jeannie. I've been back 7 months, and I'm still unpacking. So, feel for me, if you know what I mean. It doesn't seem possible, does it? Time definitely has been flying. I don't have a viewer question of the week. So just a reminder, if any of you do have any questions, please let me know. Again, write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. I'm just picking up my phone because I promised I would show you some pretty pictures from my brother's trip. For those of you who don't know, my brother has he's just completed it, a trip all the way from Cape Town in South Africa through to Dar es Salaam in Zambia. And I promised that I would show you some happy pics. So first of all, let me just show you that route so you can see it, for those of you who might be new. So that is the trip that he took. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can do this. So from Cape Town here, all the way up through Botswana, through Zimbabwe, into Zambia. Zambia is sort of a C shape. So he got into Zambia here, and then he went all the way through to Dar es Salaam. Isn't that amazing? Jeannie, I'm actually, as I was saying earlier, I'm actually piggybacking on my neighbor. So I'm hoping that it will hold. I just suddenly thought I will try it. But I do know that my internet provider is actually working on it as we speak, because he arrived just as I went to do the broadcast. So I got a couple of pictures that I thought you would like to see. This is, I thought, a really beautiful African type sunset. For those of, it's just like there is something about being on the river in Africa and having a sunset like that is so amazing. But the pictures that I really thought you would enjoy, hang on a second. First of all, they have, when they went over through Zambia, they actually went to the Victoria Falls, and my brother took a helicopter ride over the falls. There they are. They're beautiful. So, and just here in there, that is the hotel at which they stayed. So now, oops, what did I do here? I can do this. But I've got a couple of pics that I thought you would really like to see. First of all, here's a picture of Big Brother Jeff. One of the things is they have, this trip took 2 weeks, and they by rail. He did it by rail, like a first class rail thing that they have. It's a bit like in Canada we have a similar thing called the Rocky Mountain Express, but this is through Africa, and most of the passengers on board were from Europe and so forth. It's a very touristy thing. But the reason I wanted to show you that, this was Big Brother Jeff on the theme night of the 20s. So he's dressed up as a gangster. And that's Louise, his significant other. And now let's see what else I've got. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Apparently the food was exquisite. And this is the menu from one day. But the bit I wanted to make sure that you, hang on a second. Where are we now? I'm going to find it. Of course, now I can't find what I wanted to show you. Anyway, let me tell you why I wanted to show you. Yep, this was for dinner. The one day they had rack of lamb. I mean, apparently the food was just phenomenal. The next day, they had coq au vin. And then the next day, they had mealfare of smoked crocodile. And the following day, they had something with ostrich. Now, I don't know about you, but when I read that they had smoked crocodile, in my head, I could hear some of you going, what does that taste like? Am I right? How many of you wondered? Wonder what crocodile tastes like? What do you think? Any guesses? If you had to sort of go, okay, fine, what is it sort of like? What would you imagine crocodile would taste like? And what I did was I quickly wrote to Jody's saying, crocodile again, I had it for lunch. Yeah, right. So apparently it tastes a lot like chicken. Yes, absolutely. Tastes a lot like chicken. And so, one wonders, why don't you just have chicken? Anyway, these are not the Zambezi, the Lake Victoria Falls, but I just thought I'd show you because I don't know about you, but is there a waterfall that is as pretty as that? It just is such a pretty waterfall. It was somewhere in Zambia, I believe. And then, remember I said to you when they started out, they were at a game farm and they were sitting. Hang on one second. Just hold on a second. What is it? What was the problem? Levels were way down for some reason, so we just like that, adjusted everything to that specific. Is your normal on? I don't know. You can go and have a look. Okay. That's exciting. Apparently, the amplifier was way down, but they found out what the problem is. Yeah. All right, where was I? All right, with the trip. So, hold on. Let me just see what the next one was all about. I just got a couple more that I thought you'd be interested in. Oh yes, so I was telling you about. All right, so this is. Right, this was where they were at the game farm, and as you can see. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. As you can see, all right, they're sitting here with these umbrellas. Now, the reason I wanted to show you that is because this reference point that I wanted to give you. There's the umbrella and there's the elephant. Can you see the elephant right there? So that is how close the elephants were, but I've got an even better shot for you that I thought you would enjoy, which is apparently some came. All right, so I thought that was pretty good. Now, what I'm being told by Mark, the clever guy here, is that apparently everything's working again. Wow. But at the moment, I think I am still on my neighbor's signal. So hopefully we will be back in business. Yeah, I thought that's why I wanted to show you, because, I have to tell you from having done it myself, been there, done that sort of thing, that there's one thing to see an elephant or a lion in a zoo. There is something completely different when you see them in their natural habitat. And I can remember being on one of these type trips and, um, literally coming round a corner and there was a huge bull elephant, really huge. I'm not joking. It's not like how big was the fish, but a massive one. And with its ears flapping, and you're going, if he starts to run at us now, we're done. You just know that. And as some of you have heard the story, I went to sleep in a tent, and when I woke up, all my fellow visitors on the safari with me sort of said, how did you sleep, Sal? And I said, really well, thank you. And they said, yeah, actually, we heard you. But it turned out that while I was asleep, a whole pride of lions came and slept around the edge of my tent. Like, and everybody else was up in a tree with guns in case the elephants decided I was breakfast. They didn't sleep at all, and I slept like a log, of course. And some of you are probably not surprised. That's, typical Sal, right? But it was funny the next morning. How did you sleep, Sal? Very great, thanks. Why are you asking? You're the only one that did. Anyway, so just to finalize on the trip, as I suspected, my brother's feelings were that he really enjoyed the first couple of days of the trip. And while they were on really good rail tracks and, with really good things going on, once they got sort of out of South Africa and into the more rural countries, he said that the quality of the tracks was so bad that it really spoilt the trip. That it was literally like being on a roller coaster. You were being really jogged around way too much. And Louise, his significant other, is in a moon boot because she had something wrong with her foot. And apparently walking for her was very difficult. So it was, not a fun experience from that point of view. I wanted to, don't you hate it when you're trying to do 3 things at the same time and only one of them's working? Bear with me a second here, people. That is the wrong thing. I can do this. Maybe. I managed to close the window that I need. Story of my life. Bear with me. No, I don't want you to do that. All right. So, quotes. I wanted to give you this one. You can wait forever for perfect conditions, or you can make do with what you have. How many of you found that during the time of the pandemic, did you get a feeling of survival? That you learned to survive better than you had been surviving up until then? Because to me, that is part of what this was all about, is for us to remember that we can survive. And, and it is an important thing. Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have where you are. Do what you can with what you have and where you are. And, I would say for all of us who, we have these great plans in our life, and then life gets in the way. I know that a lot of you have had that. Jody with your illnesses, Jeannie with the fire, and Kimmy with all that has happened to you. And, you look at it and you go, we have to learn to just adapt, and it can get difficult if we're not flexible. And I just wondered, from your perspective, What are your feelings? Do you feel that you are better adapted this year to change and things changing than you were last year? What do you think? In other words, has being in a pandemic actually, other than the fact that obviously you must be like, as I am, just delighted to still be alive. One of the things I said when I started the Thanksgiving thanks, and I said, the greatest thanks I'd have to give is that we were all there. All right, that it would have been so easy for one of us to have got it and not survived it at our age. And I just said, the greatest thanks I have to give is the fact that we're all here together for another Thanksgiving. And that's really, to me, very, very important. And so for us to remain flexible will decide whether or not, we enjoy our lives. Yeah, Jeannie's saying we did survive. We had to or give up, and we never give up. Right? It's the same thing, Jeannie. When I said to Jody, I think I'm going to try and do a broadcast on the signal that I've got. Because, when I looked at how many bars I had, as long as I was sitting here in this room in direct line with their modem, I had a feeling I might be able to do a broadcast, and touch wood, so far that appears to be working. So, things are possible if we want them to be. But on the other hand, I had Jody lined up to explain to everybody what happened if if the signal just died on me, which it may still do. Jody's saying, yes, she feels better adapted because there was no choice. We need to move forward and survive day by day. One of the most important things you've taught me, she says, is to have plan B, C, and D, etc. Yes, I just never presume life's going to go the way you think it's going to go. And Jeannie's saying, great thanks for good health in our rebuilt home. Absolutely. I pray for that big time. And so when you look at how lucky we are on these things, just don't forget to feel grateful for those things. I obviously have had incredible feelings of frustration. Now, for those of you who've got a sense of humor, and if you're a DearMamaSal follower, then you probably have. You can imagine that they told me that my signal would be working by yesterday. Not a problem. So, I just didn't worry too much. Just try, if you can, for a moment, imagine life living without your internet signal or your streaming TV for a week without wanting to. I'm not saying go on vacation and on a train or something where you can't get the signal, but 1 minute you've got it all, and I didn't have just regular strength. I had pretty good strength signal, and so suddenly I went from all of that to nothing at all, and then luckily, very luckily, the modem. I always get confused. One is the modem and the other is what? Anyway, the box with my television in the bedroom was old, state of the art, not state of the art. And because of that, the router, thank you very much, Jody. Anyway, that still worked because it was old and didn't need much of a signal, whereas the modern ones need a very different signal, right, to give you the internet and everything. And so the old one was just for television, and it took a basic signal. So here I am. I still had television, for which I was very grateful, but only in the bedroom. So that was there, and and then I found out, to my delight, that I could piggyback off my neighbor, and that I could actually stream on my phone from my neighbor. That was really very exciting. Which is what made me think, if I can stream, pretty well, then I probably can do a broadcast. So that's why I thought I'd try it. Jeannie's saying that she and York are going to have their booster shots on November the 2nd. That's very early. Is that 6 months since your second one? Wow, that's, I didn't get my second one until April, so I think mine won't happen until December. So anyway, you can imagine the frustration of it all, but then the joy of having neighbors where I could piggyback. The other thing is that, have any of you noticed any change in your ability to get things because of the supply route being down? And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that, some things are not available in the stores the way that they were? And how do you feel about the fact that the supply chain is getting clogged? And I wondered whether you all understand why that is happening. And that it that it isn't a political thing, in case anybody thinks it's due to somebody. It's not a political thing. What actually happened was, because of the pandemic, industry and supplies all went down, obviously, because people stayed at home. And so because you were at home, you didn't need as many things in your life. All right, life was more simple, wasn't it? And now that things have started to ease up and people are going, out and about more and are shopping and are maybe buying things that they haven't been able to buy for the last year, suddenly there is a shortage of everything. And so now what happens is, it's going to take time for all the people who manufacture overseas to gear up to get back into that production stuff. And so just be aware that it's probably going to get a whole lot worse before it gets any better. Jody's saying, absolutely, a change in availability. I've been a bit anxious, but we're dealing with it, buying what we can when we can. Yes, I would say that for those of you who have children in your life, for whom you're going to be buying Christmas presents, if you possibly can, buy them now. Because one of the categories that comes in big containers and is being held up, obviously, are toys, coming out of China and so forth. So be aware that another thing that's being held up, semiconductors and things, the bits for computers, are being held up as well. And so you look at it and you go, they're going to be a supply and demand thing. So when the supply goes up, but the demand, when the supply is down, but the demand is up, the prices will come up. And so we will have inflation. And for those of you who say, but that's price gouging, yep. But that's what they call business, right? And so I've always said, if you think about it, you have a situation where the corner store charges way more for a can of beans than your local supermarket does. But that's because it's convenient, right? It's there just at the corner. You don't have to go to the supermarket. All right. So Jeannie's saying she got smart. She said, I ordered some Christmas gifts made in Maine. Yes, she bought locally. She lives in Maine. She's also saying, try and buy American made. Yes, not coming in from Asia. Very good idea. However, I did a little bit of research for you, because I thought I would like to get it sort of right. And what I heard was this: some businesses report that they've been unable to hire quickly enough to keep pace, and you've heard about that, I'm sure, with the rising need of workers. By the way, have you noticed that now a lot of unions are calling for their members to go on strike? How do you feel about that? It's, it's actually a perfect strategy. Why? Because it's getting more and more difficult to find workers, but the workers that are there, now are on strike to say, now pay us what we're worth. If you want us to work, then that's what we need to bring the prices up. So that was, I don't think I predicted that, quite honestly, but I definitely did warn you all about the um, inflation coming, and please to stock up. Anyway, so here we go. The With the rising need for workers leading to an all-time record 8.3 million job openings in April, just to give you an idea. Others do not have enough of their products in inventory to avoid running out of stock, which is what's happening. We are demanding more suddenly, and they haven't got them, in the backlog being ordered. And there were some interesting facts about that. By the way, if you heat your house with oil, you've probably heard that the price of a barrel of oil, and both at the pump and also heating oil, just astronomical. It's just amazing, the price at the moment. So, and again, expected to get worse before it gets better. And the reason is because with everybody sitting in a pandemic, the demand for oil was minimal. So all the oil producers, cut down their production. So expected to be worse. What else do I think you will probably, some of you will have noticed that meat is more difficult. That has to do with, again, supply and demand. But I found it interesting that I probably was able to get lamb out of New Zealand cheaper than I was able to get beef, which is local. That really surprised me. Jeannie's saying she went to buy a pizza. Worker said he'd been out of work for over a year and was glad to be there, but told me his hours are shorter due to the shortage of workers. Yeah. So I worked that out, Jeannie, on the fly as I was reading it. Because I'm smart. Yeah, interesting. So here's what I found. Expect canned goods to be difficult to get. So if you can if you can get canned goods, get them. The other thing is, if you can get canned goods with meat in them, things like maybe crab or shrimp or maybe canned ham or something like that, I definitely get some just for variety, because you may not have as much variety in meats as you would like coming up. They were saying that last year people stocked up on canned goods, as we know, and manufacturers wound up facing aluminum shortage. You see, that's what happens, right? The shortage has continued over a year into the pandemic, leading to reduced supply. All right. Of things like tomato paste, canned vegetables, and soda. Right. So aluminum is short. Anything that has to do with aluminum is going to be in short supply. Did you know that there's a shortage of turkeys? So if you're thinking of having turkey for Thanksgiving and or Christmas, get them while you can. If you see them, get them. All right. If you got room in your freezer. And Thanksgiving. So, and we did manage to get a turkey, but were passed over last year because, we didn't have large gatherings, right? It was just yourself and the small bubble. And so what happened was that now they've got to fatten. It takes time to fatten turkeys up again. Think about that. And by the way, it's not only turkeys that are in short supply, chicken. I was really felt like I was a superstar. I managed to score myself a really nice box of chicken breasts that, came in at a really good price. I took them out of the box and then repackaged them because it took up less room in my freezer, and really happy about that. Yes, good idea. Jeannie's saying, I've been buying up good spaghetti sauce. Very good idea. I saw that, for example, the mixture of ground beef and ground pork was on a really good price a couple of weeks ago, and I bought 4 packs of it because that's like, I can use that for so many things, stuffed burgers, as you say, meatballs for spaghetti. I haven't had spaghetti for a long time. Anyway, chicken also is likely. So if you can buy chicken, do it. Did you know that pet food is likely to be a problem as well? So make sure you've got plenty of pet food on hand. And also, they say bottled water could be an issue. So I would say if you can, don't buy a bottled water. Buy a filter and bottle your own. I must admit that that's what I do. I have one of those. I think they call it a zero something filter, which really I want to tell you, I'm very impressed with. And I just fill up my own bottles, less in the landfill. All right, so Jeannie's saying she has ordered her hickory smoked turkey already. We reheat it, and then I make everything else. That's a really good idea. It'll arrive on November the 15th. All right, so I hope that it gets to you. They also say, now this one, I don't know why, I never really thought about this one. For those of you who like to drink, liquor is going to be difficult to get. So if you're going to be entertaining a lot at Christmas, buy it now if you can, so that you can feel that you are prepared. And what they're saying, and I hadn't thought about it, was that things like import prices have skyrocketed. All right. Glass bottles are hard to come by at the moment. Yeah. And the liquor supply takes so long to make. All right, the suppliers are going to take a time to catch up to their usual production. Hi, Sam. Good to see you. So she's asking, what about wine? I would say any imported wines. In fact, wine in general. If you can, I've started. I can buy wine with my grocery order now, and I'm actually sort of buying up a bottle of wine with each order. Actually, I didn't do it. My order that arrives tomorrow, but that's what I'm trying to do, is just so I've got a stock. So just be aware, all right, and don't get angry, because you have been warned that it's going to get worse before it gets better. I was quite surprised. How many of you remember that I've got a real savings tip for you? Do you remember that when I bought paper towels when the pandemic started, I got those ones that are that go into little squares like this? All right, it's not just a third. It's like I got ones that the total towel is like this, and it's actually perforated into quarters. Now that in itself was a good saving, but yeah, but it's a selector size of a smaller size. Hold on a second, Jody. I'm hoping that it's not too much of a mess behind me. No. Hang on a second. Seeing is believing, right? So the whole thing was that, it comes in a sheet of 4, all right, but 4 of these is one sheet. So you don't just get that selector size, which is twice this. This is like this size. And I started to have a look at that, and I went, wait a minute, that is really good quality paper towel. Look at this. Right? That is not flimsy. And I went, as opposed to, all right? And I went, I wonder if I can use this as toilet paper. How many of you going, And what I did, and I'd like you to do an experiment for yourself. How many, when you pull your toilet roll down, how many sheets of toilet paper are on your average pull? And I actually worked that out. And what I found out was one of these, all right, one of these works brilliantly for the liquid. I'm trying to say this politely so I don't get banned or something. All right, for the liquid part. And two of them, all right, brilliantly for the other. And I'm working out that I am using far less paper than I was before, because this is just much better quality. And then I thought, boy, that is better for things, you know, like if you've got a cold. All right, when you take facial tissue, do you take one or two if you have to blow your nose? All right. What I found out is this is thick enough that you don't need to. Right? And that is the interesting thing. And I'm fast getting to the point where I'm probably not going to buy these things. I'm just going to buy this, what is it called? Brawny, I think. But look, oh, now I've managed to break it, right? There we go. I think because I weakened it. But it definitely is worth the money. And I'm not being paid by them, by the way. But it was just like, wow. And I've been doing an experiment. What I did was I took a paper towel holder and put it next to my toilet. And then, you know, I'm just using it like toilet paper. And I believe saving a lot of money and saving of the environment, because not as much is being wasted either. And it does a better job. That's what I really like about it. So just I thought I'd mention that. Hi, Farmer. How are you doing? How are things down south? You are so lucky you're going into summer. I'm sitting here struggling with the fall at the moment. Anybody get any seasonal tasks done this week? I wanted to tell you that I did get to the stage where I have now filled up my big freezer. And what I've discovered to my delight is I am finishing up at the moment the food I bought in July. August, September, October. So we know that it's a full season of food. That's how big my freezer is. And the other thing is, I think I described this to you before, but what I am doing is I'm keeping all my frozen foods in the plastic bags they come in, but I'm labeling the plastic bags with the month that, you know, the food was bought. And instead of just putting things in, like all the meat here and all the vegetables here and, you know, the cheese and stuff somewhere else, I'm actually keeping it in the bag. And what I'm finding is that at the beginning of every month, I open up the freezer and I move everything to the left. So, and then what I'm finding is I'm using the stuff in my freezer far better than I was before. Why? There's nothing sitting at the bottom anymore because it's in a bag. And what I do is when I go to get meat, you know, maybe I'm looking for meat, I pull the whole bag out, you know, close the freezer, and I sort out what's in that bag. Okay, fine. And then I put the bag back again. And what I'm finding is I am using up things better than I was before. I don't know why that is, but, you know, for example, I didn't particularly feel like eating something this week, but I'm going, it's there, it's in the bag, I need to eat it now. So think about that. Yes, Farmer saying that the Australia's has some pretty bad weather. Farmer, I was just saying, and you would relate to this, I'm just saying that I've got lamb cooking. Well, it's just finished cooking, actually, at the moment. And, you know, the smell of lamb is just, you know, permeating my whole house. And if I start drooling, you know why. So I'm happy that the freezer is full. So I'm feeling quite good about that. Now all I'm doing is ordering to replace things. So for example, I am cooking this weekend the lamb and the beef. I will reorder the beef because I managed to get a leg of lamb at the same time, so I don't need to replace lamb because I know I've still got lamb in there. But I will replace the beef, and if I can get a turkey on sale, I will. Farmer's saying, "Oh, I thought the drool had something to do with him being there." Yeah, right. You're so cute. So think about that. The other score that I was really pleased about and I felt good about was that I found out that my favorite ice cream maker, and my favorite ice cream is the caramel pecan, now makes a frozen yogurt caramel pecan, and it tastes just as good. And so therefore I am able to cut a lot of calories. Oh, I was telling you about my unboxing. Yeah. I treated myself. I've got to the stage where I've just about replaced everything I need to replace in the house that I can afford to anyway. I decided it's time to start replacing my jewelry, which went, kaput in the fire. So I bought myself a pair of silver earrings. Can you see those? Hang on a second. Delicate they are, but you probably prefer to see it closer up. They're cute. So, and that was like, I felt better about that. And then I also got a cardigan ready for the winter. All right. So, and I know that you guys love to see me in red because you always comment on it. So I went, okay, that will do. So what I'm now doing is updating the wardrobe a little bit. I also would have got a, that because you always see it, that tartan cardigan that I have, which is red and black together. But I thought I would really like just, this is fairly lightweight, so I can wear it autumn over. I've got just a t-shirt under here, right? So in the autumn, I can just wear it over a t-shirt. And then as it gets colder, I can wear a bit thicker underneath it and still be warm. So my favorite sweater is the Christmas plaid. Yeah, I know it is. That's why. And I thought, I think I'm going to buy a red sweater because people you always seem to like it when I'm wearing red. So, and then I had to dig out the red. Yeah. There we go. Better? Top that up. All right. So there we go. So I felt a little bit luxurious in that. Can you imagine that? Because it was like it wasn't functional. It actually was just for me, and that was the first thing. Jeannie's saying I had to buy slacks. She got some jeans in black and in navy. Yes, it's funny because I've been buying leggings rather than jeans this fall, and they're so comfortable. I actually need to buy some dress pants soon, but I haven't got that far yet. I'm working. Oh, and Jeannie's saying she needs shoes for the winter. Yeah, actually, my shoes survived, Jeannie, so I was lucky. That my winter shoes all are still with me, so that is good. I don't need to replace those. Now, how many of you watched or either at the time that it happened or later, watched William Shatner go up into space at 90 people, at 90. And, I was watching it live and he looked so terrified going in. And I don't know what he was saying to himself, but I certainly didn't expect him to have to climb all those stairs. That surprised me. That they didn't have an elevator to take them up to level that they they had to go. But he looked terrified to me, and he was deep breathing. Was it to relax himself, or was it from the stairs? I don't know. But to see him when he got back to Earth, you knew that Captain Kirk. I keep thinking about that thing. I'm not a doctor, but I play one on television, right? So I'm not an astronaut, but I play one on television for all his life. And now suddenly I am an astronaut. And how do you feel? Should the space tourists be called astronauts? And Jody, could you check the official definition of an astronaut? I meant to do that and I forgot. Yes, something, Jeannie. You could. He couldn't stop talking, could he? First of all, he couldn't talk at all. He was so moved, and it just, that touched me. To have William Shatner be so moved he couldn't talk, and then once he started to talk, he just couldn't shut up. Yes, Sam saying Jeff Bezos' lack of interest in what William had to say was sad, to say the least. Yeah, you could tell he kept wanting to go back and talk to the others, but it's okay. And did you know that he got the ride for free? Yes, and Jeannie's saying, I thought Bezos was kind to him when he hugged him. Yes, I think he needed a hug, quite honestly. Right, that's what I thought, Jody. So Jody's saying, thank you, Jody, for yet again. You're such a great admin. An astronaut is a person who is trained to travel in a spacecraft. So therefore, is it okay to call them astronauts? Because I believe there's a lot of pushback. Like, you can't call them astronauts. When I'm going, why not? They traveled in a spacecraft. Why not? They experienced weightlessness. So I realize it'll be a very select group of people that will get to call themselves astronaut, but they probably will end up calling them space tourists, is my feeling. Yes, and Sam saying the publicity was great trade-off for Bezos. Absolutely. To be able to get Captain Kirk on your spaceship, I think was, or your trip, I think was the coup. All right. And the fact Shatner did it was what amazed me. But then I thought about it as well, and I thought, even if something went wrong, what a way to go. You're 90. And you will remember, wasn't it President Bush Sr. that went skydiving at 80 something? And, I'm pretty certain that Mrs. Bush was clucking all over the place about that. But, it's like, you look at it and you go, when you've done it as much as those guys have, it's just like, I'd like to do that before I go. It was a bucket list thing, I'm sure. And I'm pretty certain that when the offer went to Bill Shatner to say, okay, we give you a seat, you don't have to pay for it, I can understand why he said yes. I think it's wonderful that he's doing so well at his age. How do you guys feel? And what do you think it is, other than money? What do you think it is that has him looking so good? He looks like a 60-year-old, not a 90-year-old. So, and by the way, if you missed it, do try and catch the interview that he did with Anderson Cooper the night before he went on the trip. I want to tell you, I think anybody that gets Anderson Cooper laughing is always, has a plus sign in my book, because I love to hear Anderson Cooper laugh. He has the most infectious laugh in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I just cry with laughter watching him, and it's watching him try not to laugh that is part of it. All right. Oh, thanks, Jody. Jody's saying, by the way, that George W. Herbert Walker Bush went skydiving on his 90th birthday. So he did the same thing. It was a bucket list thing. He'd always wanted to do it, and he did it. And I can imagine Barbara was not a happy person. I don't know why. I can sort of, because she was really the power there, right? So I just look at it and I go, what an incredible thing. And that interview with Anderson Cooper, I laughed until I cried. And I just went, it made my week, quite honestly, because I laughed so much. So well done. And again, why do you think Shatner looks as good as he does? And what you notice about him is he still has an incredible sense of humor. He does not spend his time dissing people. He does not spend his time being angry. All right. You get a sense that he is a happy man. All right. And as I said, I understand he's got more money than the rest of us. All right. But the truth is, how much does his mentality help him live, and be an astronaut at 90? I think it has a lot to do with it. Here's a nice quote for you, and I wonder how you feel about it. Listen to it and tell me what your reaction is. Sometimes you need to choose to do things you don't want to do. And, if you knew you only had so much time to live, what things would you do that you've been putting off? And I'd also like to say that sometimes when you have emotional intelligence, you don't do a lot of the things you don't want to do, that you felt you had to do before. Suddenly you realize, I don't need to do that. I'm doing it for other people, not for myself. All right. And it's not that you're being selfish. It's about how much of your day gets wasted doing things that other people want you to do, not things that you want to do. Now, I do want to make a comment here in terms of the expense of going on these trips. And a lot is being said about, let's spend the money, solving world hunger instead of, letting multimillionaires do these space trips. But, I think I'd like to bring some balance into that. And the balance that I'd like to bring is to remind us all the things that we have today that make our lives easier because of space travel. All right. Number one, the artificial limbs that you see today, you do realize that they are there because of all the technology that went into the space arm and everything else. It helped all the artificial limb type production improve. Or does that make sense to you? That technology that they needed, and by the way, that robot arm on the space station comes from Canada. When you look at all of that, you go, that is a really important thing to think about, that we have much better artificial limbs today because of the space race. All right. How many of you wear glasses? How many of you have scratch resistant stuff on your glasses? Do you know why you have scratch resistant on your glasses now? It's because they needed to develop it for the visors for the astronauts. All right. And of course, once they got it perfected for the astronauts, then they turned around and said, wait a minute, we could do this on glasses as well. And so now today we don't think twice about having glasses that have scratch resistant coatings on them. Yeah, you didn't know that, Sam. You know me, I love to bring you these bits of information. How about those of you who have an insulin pump in your body? Do you know why that was developed? And I'm thinking, we've got at least one viewer I know that has one of those pumps inserted in their body. In fact, I know two that have pumps either with insulin or with medication in it that inserted. The reason they needed to develop that for the astronauts was because they knew they were going to have astronauts living on the space station for a long time. And can you imagine, and some of them would have diabetes. And so they knew that working with little lances and stuff to test the blood was going to be impossible. And so you think about it, what they said was, okay, fine, what we need to do is to put it in them and have a slow release system that we can control from Earth if necessary. Clever, huh? And that's why we have that. Did you know that firefighting equipment today is much better than it ever was before we did the space race, because it's using technology that they used for the astronauts. The reason firefighters today have even cooling systems in their uniform is because of what they was learned from the astronauts. How many of you have a dustbuster at home? Or maybe how many of you have power tools that you just change the battery? You know, you have the same battery and you can use it in different power tools. Guess why? The dustbuster was originally designed for the space station. I didn't know that. But they worked with Black & Decker on, finding a small enough thing that they could use it. But then they then went on and designed the equipment and stuff, because they needed equipment they could take outside and mend the space station, but they didn't want to have, an electrical cord or anything, right? And so then that's when they designed the battery packed power tools, thanks to the space race. How about wireless? How many of you got wireless earbuds? Why were wireless earbuds designed? For the astronauts. Again, they didn't want wires hanging down on the astronauts, right? They needed to be able to communicate to one another without a lot of wires in their helmets and stuff. So that's what they did. Did you know, I didn't know this, did you know that CT scans and MRIs were designed because of the space race? I didn't know that. Did you know that our in-home workout machines, like my air glider and stuff like that, became because they needed exercise equipment that would fit into the space station. They needed exercise equipment small enough that it could be used in the space station. How many of you have infrared thermometers, one that you just stick in your ear and it takes your temperature? Guess why? They couldn't have thermometers up in, weightless. You can imagine. Mercury flying around. No, not a good thing. And so they developed the infrared thermometer. How many of you have a laptop? If so, thank the space race. Now, I didn't know that, but the first portable computer was built by Grid Compass, and it was used on multiple shuttle missions in the 1980s. It was nicknamed Spock, which stood for the Shuttle Portable Onboard Computer. But whoever named it Spock had a sense of humor, and they probably spent a long time trying to work out that it could stand for, the Shuttle Portable Onboard Computer. But we would not have laptops today. Did you know that the computer mouse was also designed for the space shuttle? I didn't know that. How many athletic shoes, wait a minute, or regular shoes with these fancy soles on them? Got these, guess why? The technology was developed for shock absorbing properties for the shuttles. It's shock absorbent rubber molding designed for astronauts' helmets, because they knew they were going to be knocking against the space, things. And now it's a common thing. So you look at it and say, sure, they spent millions designing these things and coming up, and it's a bit like, can you guys remember the movie E.T.? And I know I've spoken of this before, but if you remember the movie E.T., what ET was magical for, other than and ET go home, call home. Other than that, I think you will all remember it was the first time we ever saw a mountain bike. And I know that I discussed it recently, but I'd like to talk about it again. Here was a classic case of what they wanted to do. You know, they dream a dream, all right? What would we like this scene to look like? Well, we'd like a scene where all the kids go all across, the countryside, to try and help ET. And then they said, yes, but, the bikes don't work well on grass, or on, bikes in those days weren't designed to go off-road. And, Spielberg said, well, build me one that does. And they went, well, build me one that does. What would it need? It'd need fatter tires, somebody said, and it would need better suspension, and it would need da-da-da. He said, build me one. Let's build one and see. And they did. And then they tested it, and it was just exactly what was needed. Today, how many bikes are not mountain bikes? You understand? It's just like sometimes we need somebody to dream a dream for a dream to come true. And so you look at it and saying, pretty obvious that they knew they needed visors that were scratch resistant. At the time, there wasn't the technology. But what happens is somebody says, well, let's work out what it would need. And they failed how many times to get it right, I'm sure, but they keep going until they get there. And so don't hate the space race. Please. Understand that it has its place. And I think you all know one of the main things that was designed for the space shuttle and the space station was memory foam. And how many of us have mattresses with memory foam on them today? Here's my next quote. There is a choice you have to make in everything that you do. So keep in mind that in the end, the choice you make makes you. So I want to go back to William Shatner. I believe he is a happy man because he chooses to be happy. All right? I think bad things happen to William Shatner. But, I am certain he was terrified. But I bet you once they got up there and he was still alive, I'm pretty certain that when they blast you off, you can't breathe. I mean, you imagine the G-forces on you. And they had to do training, astronaut training, not a lot of it, but they did have to do some of it. Obviously, because of what that does to your body. And I'm certain he had to go through incredible fitness checks and everything to be able to get on there. But, I am certain that for those few minutes that he was weightless, it was worth everything he did. And then there was a terrifying experience of coming back down. And would we land safely? I cannot imagine. And what I didn't realize is that they actually are lying down when they land. And I don't know about you, that landing looked pretty heavy to me. Ow! And all that dust came up off the desert. I'm going, that was not a soft landing. So you wonder, what damage do you do if you're lying like this and you have a hard landing? I am certain there's a lot of shock absorbency in there. And so, you look at it and you go, I wonder. I wonder what that was like. That's the question, one of the questions I'd like to ask him. What was that like on a 90-year-old body to be lying flat and hit that hard? Did you think every bone in your body was going to break? And did they simulate that before he ever went up there? I wonder. And here is a quote that talks to the innovation that we've been talking about. If you really want something, you can figure out how to make it happen. Right? If you really want something. Jody really wanted to have her bypass surgery. Not bypass, but her gastric sleeves. No, it was gastric bypass surgery. But in order to do that, the things she had to achieve before she could do it were just amazing. She had to learn not to have meals anymore and to get her diet down to just liquids. For how many months before the operation? 2, was it? That you were only allowed to have liquid? I mean, you have to be really keen to have that surgery to be prepared to go through that. But in doing that, Jody, how many things have you learned about what your body really needs? All right. It needs protein. And it certainly doesn't need carbs to keep going. Yeah, almost 2 months. That's what I thought it was, about 2 months of just liquids. And so we know the body can survive. So, think about it. Made me, and I want to thank you for that, Jody, because the feeling that I got listening to you go through that, I keep reminding myself when I feel hungry, I go, well, how about having a soup? And I'm going, no, I'm hungry. And I'm going, yeah, but what did Jody teach us? All right. If you have a healthy soup, it is enough. And that is another thing I would recommend that you, if you can, that you stock up on. It's my next order is going to be for what I call the hearty soups, the clam chowder type soup or the beefsteak soup or one of those things, because those are really good things to have in your pantry. And if the meat shortage gets worse, I'm going to be grateful for them. And the other thing is, you can take one of those soups out of the can and put it in, pastry and make a pocket, all right? Type meal. You can use it to make a pie. You can, so there's so many different things you can do if you want to. And the price of a can of soup, of those hearty soups, is really well worth. I don't think you can make a soup for the price you buy it, quite honestly, even if you make it yourself. And it's certainly, in terms of the time, is incredible saving. Do what you have to do what you want to do. I'll say that again. And Denzel Washington said that. Do what you have to do what you want to do. So for some of us, excuse me, it is, what are we prepared to change in order to get what we want? I've been struggling to lose weight, but I knew that I didn't want to do it on a diet, because if I did a diet, then I would not learn what I needed to learn. So I've slowly been changing what I eat. And what amazes me is I'm actually going to have potatoes 3 times this week. And I was down to almost not having potatoes at all, because I have learned that I can eat a meal without potatoes. But it's going to be such a luxury. I had potatoes at the Thanksgiving dinner, and they tasted so good. And then I am going to be doing mashed potatoes to go with the lamb, and I will do roast potatoes to go with the beef. So it's going to be more potatoes than I normally have, but I've learned I don't have to have as many. That's the other thing. Sam is saying it's awfully hard. I watch many family members struggle through pre-surgery, post-surgery. It's a whole other beast. It takes real determination. Yes. And you look at it and look what Jody has done. Jody, how many pounds have you lost now, honey? And while you're typing the answer to that, Jody's also saying, those canned soups are great to have over mashed potato. Or, as I've learned, spaghetti squash. Great to put it over there. Yeah. If you want to make an instant meat pie, take one of those cans of hearty soup, whatever, and cover it with puff pastry. You got yourself a meat pie in the heartbeat. So think about that. All right, she's lost 49 pounds in 6.5 weeks of stalls, and it's 3 months since surgery. All right, so she's lost 50 pounds. How many dress sizes is 50 pounds, Jody? I'm really stunned. Although I don't, I'm still hovering on that plateau of mine. Um, what I'm stunned about is I definitely have changed shape. I know I must have lost it in my hips because I'm having to take my pants in. I'm putting new elastic in my pants now. Next year I will see what I've got myself down to and probably buy new ones. But it's like I can definitely feel that I need different size pants from the ones that I was wearing. Yeah, Jody's saying they're falling off me though. What I found, Jody, and I know this sounds really strange, is the ones that I bought, to do winter with last year are falling off me as well. But what I did was I took a strip of elastic, thick elastic, probably 2-inch elastic, and about this much, and I just put that in the back of those pants. All right. So it took up about an inch and a half, 2 inches, at the back. And boy, that made a difference. Now they're not falling off, and I can wear them for, because there's nothing wrong with them. They just are too big, or they were, and I've spent my life sort of pulling them up, right? So good to know. Yeah, well, it actually, something. It's a very simple hack, and if I'd like to liken this in a way to things that people did during the war, right? They didn't keep buying new clothes. They kept adjusting the clothes that they had. And that's really important. And if you think about it, they they really mixed and matched things, and things, we didn't keep changing things just because we felt like it. And if your money is getting tight, this is about, and we've got the advantage these days of having really good thrift stores and things that you can go. I know a lot of people who've got money to buy new clothes but don't. They just go to the thrift store and get new to me clothes and are quite happy. And I might, when I next have to buy clothes, I might go and have a look at that, see what can I find that I like the look of. It's an experience. How about this one? Dale Carnegie said, "It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you're doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It's what you think about it." Right? It's what you think about it. Yeah, Sam is saying my daughter's jeans usually have elastic bands with holes and buttons. That way you can buy big and adjust the elastic as they grow. Absolutely. And that is really the whole secret. I quite honestly, I have the skill set to be able to take my pants in. But quite honestly, they're sweatpants. So I don't really mind if they're a bit baggy or a bit gathered because they're sweatpants, and I will use them to work in the garden during the colder months. All right. So I'm quite happy. They've become my new work clothes. And I made sure that when I bought this, I didn't buy it quite as small as I might have wanted to. Why? I wanted it to have room that I could lose some and it would still look good, but I could also, if I ended up putting some weight back on, it would still fit me. All right. Susan Palace Short said, "This life is yours. Take the power to choose what you want to do and do it well. Take the power to love what you want in life and love it honestly. Take the power to walk in the forest and be part of nature. Take the power to control your life. No one else can do it for you. take the power and make your life happy. I made sure that when I invited my friend Patty for lunch, oh, I also did that this week, yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, Wednesday. She came for lunch. I said, bring the puppy. You know, she has got this incredibly spoiled little fluff ball thing. And I just said, make sure you bring the puppy. Don't put it in daycare. Bring it with you. And I want to tell you something. I had such fun with the puppy because the first time I met the puppy didn't really take to me. But this time, now we're friends. All right. And it was just such fun because I haven't had a puppy in the house. And I just said, you know, anytime you need a dog sitter, let me know. You know, I'll happily look after him. So, you know, it made me happy. And I was saying to another friend of mine, I wonder if any of you can relate to that. You know, I was talking about the fact, well, I've been back 7 months and I still haven't finished unpacking because you unpack the important stuff and then you get down to what I call crud. And Jeannie, you'll probably find this as well, unless you packed more intelligently than I did. But I'm down to the boxes that have got a lot of crud stuff in them. And then I've still got the stuff that's in the shed. But we'll worry about that next year. But the interesting thing is, you know, I couldn't unpack those boxes until I had places in which I could put it. In other words, I had to save up to get the units I could put stuff in before I could unpack those boxes. And what I was saying to this friend of mine is, you know, what I'm noticing is I'm inviting people who I know will not judge me for that. My friends, right? That they're not going to go, gosh, she's been back 7 months and she still hasn't finished unpacking. I'm inviting the ones that go, hey, Sal, you got the rest of your life. Don't even worry about it. You know, those are the ones that I want around me right now. I have the cutest story to tell you guys. Talk about feeling loved. Did I feel loved this week? Absolutely. So I got up early to watch William Shatner go up into space and come back again. And boy, did I pray hard that he'd be safe. But of course, in order to watch that, it was some ungodly hour of the morning. Like it was meant to happen at, I think, about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, which, you know, I don't normally do. And so I got up at 5 to make sure that I, you know, had made coffee and got myself sort of grounded and everything so I could really concentrate on watching it. Well, then it got delayed, and that must be terrifying when you're a passenger on one of those things. But anyway, but the interesting thing was that after I watched it and I was now awake, there wasn't much point in going back to sleep. So I stayed up and I was busy putzing around in my kitchen, and then I was here at the computer doing stuff. And suddenly I got an email from one of my neighbors, not my neighbor next door, but another one, and said, are you okay? I noticed that your lights are on before 8 o'clock in the morning. Are you okay? And you could tell she was really deeply concerned. I wrote back and said, no problem. I got up to watch William Shatner go up to space and back again. And I was awake, so I stayed awake, which is why my lights are on. But thank you for loving me that much. I don't know about you, but I felt incredibly cared for in that moment. All right? You know, I was doing something out of the normal routine. She doesn't see lights on in my place, you know, until 10 o'clock in the morning. So, and she wanted to make sure I was okay. I think that's called community, right? Yeah, that's a good neighbor. Yeah, I was, you know, and I wrote back and said, I don't know how to thank you for that. I suddenly feel so loved. Yeah, as you can probably tell, right? It touched my soul. Mind you, I can't remember what I did for her this week or last week or something. And I just wrote her a note and said, I just like to pretend I care. You know, I normally cover it off that way. All right, let me see what I got here. When you have spirit of excellence, you do the right thing not because somebody is watching or making you do it. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Right? And I know most of my viewers have that sort of integrity. All right? You don't do good things, you know. I don't think my neighbor did that to pretend that she was a nice person. I think she is a nice person. And I think she genuinely was worried. She probably said to her husband, Jim, a bit worried about Sal. Her lights are on. And she never has lights on before 10 o'clock in the morning, And so, I can imagine that conversation. And she didn't just talk about it. She did something about it. She wrote me an email to find out. Very nice. Okay. If you cannot fly, run. And if you cannot run, then walk. And if you cannot walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. I want to tell you the greatest feeling that I have had of accomplishment is literally doing everything one step at a time here. When I say doing one step at a time, I will walk into a room and go, okay, that's getting better now. What is the one next thing I'd like to accomplish in here? All right. And so, I spent many weeks, bit by bit, organizing in here. And as you can see, hopefully, I've got all sorts of cubies. I've got, boxes up there with different things in. They're envelope boxes that I painted to match the decor. This is still crud that I'm working on there. But, it's like one step at a time. I don't try and do it all. I'll say, I'd like to get that shelf looking tidier, for example. And then I will say, what would make it look tidier? Well, it would look tidier if that electrical bar was not on top. And then, and is there a better place for the pencil sharpener that I only use once in a blue moon? Right? And then you think about it and you go, And then what happens is I don't rush to do it. At the moment, I'm working on what do I need to do in my laundry room, and I need to repaint the one set of cupboards that were not repainted because they reckoned they didn't need to be repainted, and they were blue. And I don't want them blue, obviously. And so now what I've done is the first thing that I know is I'm going to have to pull the cupboard doors off and repaint them. But I also, when I've got the doors off, I'm obviously going to put new hinges and new knobs. And I've already worked out how many hinges do I need and how many knobs do I need, and do I have enough paint to repaint them? Because that's what I call winter work. Yes, Sam is saying moving forward is my motto right now. I lost actually. Yes, a lot of yes, do what you can. Don't concentrate on what you can't do. Give yourself. You don't have to do it all. I keep going into my guest bathroom. And, funny enough, I've come up with an answer that will actually, it was, that bathroom wasn't updated. And I keep looking at it and going, how would I make this look better than it does at the moment? And it doesn't look bad, but how would I make it look better? And I have already worked out the next step. And that would be to frame the actual bath surround, the fiberglass is fine, doesn't look bad at all. What looks bad is the stuff that's holding it on looks really cruddy. So I I think I'm just going to buy wood and frame around the top because it's not going to be near the water that much, all right? And, because it's high, and it would just make it look so much more modern and cared for. And I would probably just stick it over the top of the existing thing, not rip it apart and do it again. So, it's just like small little steps work. And it's, and maybe next year or the year afterwards, I'll do something else. But right now, I don't have a lot of money to do things. So what can I do that will make it look better? What is that? What am I looking at? Oh, I'm going, what is that? Did I tell you about these? Oh, and the green, by the way, is just masking tape. I'm trying to work out what was that green I'm looking at. Did I tell you I got these? Hang on. Can I get them to work? Yeah. Can you see it's got a light? And it's got glasses. So when I'm doing fine work with my die cutting machine is here, right? When I'm doing stuff and I'm trying to weed stuff out, I can do that. And it comes, this is brilliant. It comes with all sorts of different magnifications, right? So I find that, for example, if I want to thread a needle, it is perfect. And I haven't needed to change the lens. I've just used this one. Yeah. I mentioned ordering them. Yeah. And so I just want to tell you, it's heavier than you think it's going to be, but I'm not sad that I got it. My eyes are. And how many of you are crafty people? Quite a few, I think. I found that getting some glue, and then I bought some of these needle nose containers. Very useful when you're doing crafts. I had such fun. A feeling of accomplishment. Hold on a second. I've got a young boy who's into whales and things. Got a birthday coming up, so I made a card. It says, "Well, hello there." And then inside, he's big into Pokemon. So it also says, "I hear you're about to be 8." All right, and then got the Pokemon logo, and then it says, "Look." And so if you open this up, Pokemon characters. You see that? And then if you lift it out, there's some money. So now the joy in doing that, all right, how long, this is one of those things where why go to the store and buy a $5 card when I can waste 2 days making my own? But the funny thing is I had such fun designing it all. And what happened was the first time I cut it out, something went wrong and I ended up having to remake the whole card. All right. But, to make the second card was obviously much quicker than the first one because I already knew all the components. But how many of you can imagine that the fun of it is, well, and I got hold of Mum and I said to Mum, "What's he into? I need to know what's he into." And she told me and I said, "Okay, fine. Now I know I need whale. I know I need some Pokemon things." And, then he knows that I care. Or he won't even notice, but Mum knows that I cared, right? And so to me, it's not for Juliana. No, Juliana's I sent. Oh, I sent that long time ago. I wanted to make sure it got there. Juliana, I did totally different. I did hmm, I did a similar thing with Juliana's, but I had I did a really ornate J on hers, and I also had money hidden in it. Yes, but I had money hidden for her and for the girls. No, it's not for Juliana. No, it's not for Benji either. No, it's for an 8-year-old. Um, I do have other people in my life, Jeannie. So it was fun to design. I want to go back to what we were saying about do things that make you happy. Jody, I know that you have a very analytical brain as well, and you're a problem solving brain as well. And one of the things that I am asking people, and I asked around the Thanksgiving table, was, what are you all going to do this winter? Because we got caught short last winter with the pandemic. We weren't expecting it and we weren't ready for it. But, my question is, what are you going to do this winter? And so what I want to do is to ask you guys, what new hobby are you going to take up? How many of you have already thought about, how am I going to entertain myself, this winter? And so to me, it's about, think about that, right? I know I'm going to spend a lot more time designing stuff, and I will probably design stuff to go in my house. I found that those pens, Jody, that I got, you remember these ones that we like, that write in 2 colors at the same time? No, I don't want to waste that. Hang on. You write on the back of something. That'll do. Okay, so these, they're sort of like silver, but on the edge it's a blue. Really clever. I've used those for all my labels that I've got on my cubies here. All right, so those are all on the same labels. All right, Jody's going to be doing cross stitch. All right, good. And it's like, I know my neighbors are busy. They love to do jigsaw puzzles, right? And so this is, make sure you know how you're going to spend your time. I'm just amazed how little time I seem to have in my life. I thought being retired I'd have all this time, and I have not been bored yet. I like this quote. It said, "Your life is what you make it, so don't blame others when you screw it up. If you're not happy, it's because you're not doing things that make you happy." And how many excuses do we have? Oh, well, I don't have enough money to do the things that make me happy. Well, some of the poorest people in the world that I have seen are also the happiest, right? Why? Because they can enjoy what they've got, all right? They can make things that make them happy. They don't have to buy things to make them happy. So if you've got a mind that likes creating, I have a mind like that, then, let's do more creating this winter. If I'm now, as you know, doing more experiments with my my indoor garden. Remember, I started last year. What I found out that was that aero garden type thing that I got does not grow seeds nearly as well as I thought it would. It does, but it's really a gizmo. But I found out that egg boxes work really well for seedlings, for starting seeds in, with the light that, for the aero thing. So I'm learning different skills, if you like. And what I want to do is, I realize now that part of my problem was that seeds take a lot longer to grow than you give them credit for. You think, okay, I will start my seeds in March. Yeah, well, forget that. because I want my seeds to be pretty raring to go. And I'm learning different ways of doing it. And it may take me another 5 years to perfect it. I'm looking forward to sitting down with Benji soon, because he said he wants to come up and visit, and discussing gardens, because I had a problem that I never really envisaged, which was I can grow the seeds and I can put them in my beautiful, I've got these tiered vegetable gardens. But if I put them in there, the local wildlife has a field day. I've got bunny rabbits and, all sorts of four-legged critters that come to eat at my garden. It's like, oh, look, we got a new restaurant just opened up. It's Sal's place. And, as fast as I put things into those gardens, the critters come and eat them. So I've got to find another plan around that. And I'm thinking that I may need to build little cloche type covers, for my stuff next year. And how can I do that on my budget? It's just another challenge. So I look at it and I think, I've got all winter to work it out and research it and see what other people do and so forth. So what is it you like to do? I'm nearly at the stage where I can start throwing paint again. I don't think I probably will, because I'm still got a long way to go. But for some reason, that's the last thing that I will go back to, I think, just because it will be a big mess and it'll mess up stuff that I've been desperately trying to get right. I was talking to Patty when she was here. What am I going to do? Am I going to put a bed into my spare bedroom? Or am I going to, she was suggested maybe a Murphy bed in there. But, those are not cheap. And then I thought, I have got a futon in the front part of the house. And I might just put the futon into the spare room and drop it down and put a mattress on it when people come to visit. And I can store the mattress behind it, is what I was thinking. So, there are other ways of doing it. Now that I found out that the mattress that I got online, by the way, has turned out to be a very comfortable mattress. Surprise, surprise. And I paid $250 for it, and it is great. I'm really happy with it. So, anybody got anything else that they want to discuss quickly before we close the broadcast? Anybody got any new things that they want to share that we can give time for? I am not sure if I will do a broadcast this evening if my internet is working properly, and I haven't had a chance to go and check that. Then, I probably will, but it means I got to tidy up the kitchen. But I thought I'd show you some things that I'm getting ready for Christmas. I thought some of you might like some ideas on that one. Jeannie's saying that she put a futon in the guest bedroom, but it's not comfy to sleep on. You don't want it too comfy to sleep on. The idea is, yes, I do have a bed, but you don't make it too comfortable, otherwise they stay too long. But Jeannie, what makes it uncomfortable? The futon itself. That's why I'm saying you could buy a mattress to go over the futon, a proper mattress. Because the futon really is just a frame. And, if you think about it, you can probably store the mattress behind it. I might buy a box just to hold the mattress, and attach it to the wall. You can slide the mattress out when you want it and then put it on top. Yeah. The hard frame. Yeah. So what you need is more cushioning then. You're saying you can feel the frame when you lie on it? So you need more depth between. I've got an aerobed mattress that I was thinking that I might try that on my futon. Like a blow-up mattress, the aerobed type ones. And those are not necessarily comfortable because they're rubber, but I'm thinking What if I put I've got a comforter, put a comforter below the sheets, on top of the aero bed, sort of thing, or put a sheepskin type, shirling type cover over it, would make it feel very luxurious. So I think there are ways of doing it. I would. Have you thought about maybe putting a blow up mattress on it? I think it would make it more comfortable if it's uncomfortable to lie on. Well, yes, of course you'll have your sleep number in your bedroom. Who wouldn't? I want to tell you, I would have loved to have had a sleep number. But I realized I needed, for the price, I needed to do other things more than the sleep number. So I got a bed that did all the movements of everything and just didn't get a sleep number. And I must admit, I've got more for my buck than I thought I would. And I'm very happy. But yeah, I think, it's one of those things. I was explaining that to somebody else. I had to pay for the bathroom, right? The bathroom was a huge expense, and my expense, but there was no point in not updating that bathroom when I rebuilt. It was madness not to do it. And so I cut a lot of corners when I rebuilt everything so that I could pay for the bathroom as well. And I just have one thing left now, Jeannie, just so that you know, and it was meant to arrive yesterday. The one thing I have left is they're replacing a blind in my spare bedroom, and then I'm done. By the way, talk about frustration. The vanity in my bedroom, I pulled out a drawer yesterday and the whole thing fell apart. So I had to write and go, I'm sorry, I'm not quite gone yet. I'm not quite gone yet. And I sent the pictures and I just pulled it out and the whole thing came apart. I wonder if you could send somebody to make it good. What I did get, Jeannie, and I would recommend this, I got my Reno guy to give me in writing that I was covered wall to wall for all the work they had done for a year. And then obviously any extensions on the equipment would be longer. But that all the workmanship that was done in my house was covered totally for a year. So I was happy to get that in writing. Yes, Kimmy's saying she has a Tempur-Pedic 4-inch mattress and she feels some pain. I now have a much deeper mattress. And I want to tell you that I have not had hip pain. I had a foam mattress before, and I had such trouble with my hips and my back. Since I got this mattress that I'm on, and on the frame that it's on and everything, I don't know what it is about that combination. I have not, and it also goes to zero gravity. I don't know if you guys know about that, but they literally, the bed goes at a certain angle where the pressure on your joints is zero. And I want to tell you, it is amazing to me. It was well worth it. Right. Jeannie's saying that they need, she's rebuilding. She's saying we need a filtration system because our water has arsenic, sulfuric, and other contaminants in it. Yikes. Yeah, that's pretty important to have water filters. You're saying you're pretty sure insurance pays for it, pays for the water system, the water filtration? Did you have it before? It depends. No, Kimmy's making a very good point. Kimmy's saying if you go more inches, you get more pain because you sink more. It depends on how much support you're getting. I want to tell you, I found with a firm mattress, I had so many problems. It was very comfortable, but quite honestly, I'm now back with a spring mattress with a foam top to it, and with a bed that is adjustable. And you've got an adjustable frame underneath it. Yeah, exactly. That's very important. I'm very happy with. I cannot believe that I'm not in pain anymore. It's really exciting. Jane Goodall, of gorilla fame, said, "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make." You see, I know some of you this Christmas or this winter will make a difference in your lives, and some of you will make a difference in other people's. I'm thinking, Jeannie loves to bake for other people, so she will get her jollies this winter baking treats for other people. Jody was telling me that her neighbor surprised her with some treats recently, because she's always sending food up to the neighbor, but when it was nice to get some back. And so you look at it, um, it is really important to do things that will bring you pleasure. And if baking for other people brings you pleasure, do it. How many of you love to look after, clothes and things for the homeless? Maybe you knit, maybe you crochet, maybe you're going to make one scarf for a homeless person. And give it to your local church or whatever, or maybe you're going to sort through your winter clothes and see which ones you can no longer fit into, but maybe will keep somebody else warm. I remember when I was working, one winter, I said to all my co-workers, let's all bring in one jacket or one coat to keep somebody warm. And it doesn't matter whether it's a kid's one or whether it is an adult one, but and if you haven't got a jacket, how about warm sweaters? Let's think what we have that we really don't need, that could keep somebody else warm. And I want to tell you, we came with bags of stuff. People didn't just bring one, they sorted out all sorts of stuff. And I literally was taking bags of stuff to the local church and saying, find people who need warm clothes, here they are. And some of them, I want to tell you, were serious brand label ones. And I had people saying to me, I'd really like that, Sal. And I said, then bring an exchange. I understand that, you want to recycle it to your house, but you have to bring me, I'll keep it up, but you need to bring me something to put in there in exchange. So understand, you need to decide what difference you want to make. If you remember, gorillas made Jane Goodall happy, and she spent her life studying them. And so you don't have to do what anybody else is doing, right? Sam is saying, I like to donate all my extra makeup and hair products at the end of the year to a women's shelter around Christmas time because it makes me so happy to think about. Absolutely. I used to take all my business clothes that I, had enough of, and I would take them to a halfway house for prisoners, female prisoners. So they would have nice clothes to go to interviews in if they wanted to. And what I did is created a wardrobe so that they could, borrow the clothes for interviews. I knew they probably wouldn't wear them a lot, but they could wear them for interviews. And then they, left them for the next group of people to be able to use. And to me, that was, think about that, right? Because most people want to dress up to go for an interview. They don't necessarily have to dress up to go to work these days, but to go for an interview, they're inclined to do that. Oh, Kimmy, I'm so glad the pups, they've all gone. That must have been so difficult. Kimmy, I haven't mentioned your health. So whatever you would like me to share, type it, or if you don't want me to share, don't type anything. But I know I did have you in my thoughts and prayers at the beginning. How about this for a quote? If you have the power to make someone happy, do it. The world needs more of that. Right? And I go back to William Shatner and go, he made a lot of people happy the night before he went up into space, with his interview with Anderson. I I know that I, for one, was so happy that he got back to Earth safely, but I was also amazed. I sat shaking my head when I realized he was so overwhelmed that he needed time to just think before he started to talk. And he needed time to cry, I think, before he started to talk. And I thought that was just magical. And he made my day through, I could feel his excitement. Kimmy's saying it was hard on her to let go of the pups, and she hopes that their forever homes take really good care of them. Yes, it's out of your control now. Yeah. So, to me, it's like, how many did you have, Kimmy? I think you said they were pugs. Am I right? But how many did you have? I'm sure you told me, but I can't remember. 7. Okay. Yeah. And so, it's like, um, it's an incredible feeling, right? It's like any parent, you bring up your children, then you have to let them go. The only thing is with puppies that's that doesn't last very long. How about this quote? It says, "Everything in your life is a reflection of the choices that you have made. If you want a different result, you need different choices." Isn't that true? I keep reminding myself, if I want to drop below this plateau, and I'm bounced on it for so long now, it's time to go down. And I'm going, what do you need to do to bounce below it, Sal? Yeah, you need to change what you're putting into your body. So what I've done is I found out the diet, the change in lifestyle that I need to get down to this weight. But Jody, you were saying that you got stuck on this plateau as well. Well, I've been on this one for months. And I keep hoping miraculously that I will drop below and keep going, but obviously not until I change my choices. Now, this week will not be the week for it because I had, seconds of turkey dinner and dessert, and it was wonderful. I'm going to be having, big meals and desserts for the next week as well. So I'm not even going to worry about it this week. So I think but the fun I'm going to have entertaining again, it's like I haven't done that since I got here, really. I think I have my neighbors over, but now, now I can have my friends over as well. And it's not my neighbors aren't friends, you understand. How about this one? Joe Brown said, "Whatever life may send your way, make the best of it. Don't waste your time and energy worrying about it. Instead, find a way to do something about it. Learn from it, adjust to it, be strong, be flexible, and be your best in every situation." Jody learned how to go from eating huge meals to drinking soup and a way to survive. She's now learning the joy. I think that, Jody, one of the things that I have loved so much in watching your journey, one of the things I've really appreciated is the fact that you are now learning, the joy of, a bite of pizza, or the joy of, one new thing that you're allowed to eat. And, I'm certain that you've got a whole new understanding of food. And I, for one, realized that my food choices have definitely changed. My plate size has changed. I no longer eat with a dinner plate. I eat with a side plate. And, because if I eat with a side plate, I can have dessert. And yet Jody's saying, "I sure am. There is joy in eating just one M&M. Yes, exactly. I need to get out of here. All right, this is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go and find out whether my internet signal is now working. And if it is, that would be wonderful. And I will or will not see you this evening. I'll see how it goes. If everything's working properly, then I will. I'm so grateful that I was able to do this broadcast. And I hope that some of you got some joy out of being here and sharing it with me. I have a feeling that this is going to be a very interesting winter time for us. I'm hoping that we will laugh a lot, and I am hoping that we will learn a lot, and that we will make the best of whatever it is that we have, even if it is less. We will get more creative in the things that we do. This is Dear Mama saying, look after one another, but most of all, remember to look after you. And bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody.